Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday night. My name is Becca, and I am joined by my invisible husband.
Hello.
He's sitting on the other side of my sewing room with his own mic hooked up. So I don't know how long he'll be in here with me tonight, but he's here to join in the conversation. So he's actively looking at the comments, and maybe we'll get some stories out of him. Who knows?
I'm trying to look at the comments. I can't find it. Oh, there it is.
Oh, he's learned how to use the YouTubes. I'm very proud of you.
The interwebs.
The interwebs, yes, the interwebs. Good evening, everybody. I hope you are having a wonderful day, a wonderful holiday season, and I hope you have a great weekend. But before we dive into the sewing tonight, I will tell you what I'm going to be working on in just a couple minutes, but I want to share some fun stories with you. Most importantly, the one that is quite literally smack dab in my face. So what you don't see from this view is what's behind the camera, meaning what I am actively looking at when I stare deep into your eyes. That would be a lovely 32-inch TV that I brought up from my mom's apartment downstairs and put on top of some calyx shelves that I have kind of over by my entry door. This was a touch to my sewing room that just literally, I feel like, made it complete. It gave me something to do while I was sitting in here with friends so that we didn't have to just stare at each other or just listen to music. We could watch movies and things together. And quite honestly, Jason and I have actually come into the sewing room and watched TV in here while Zoe has taken over the mega TV in the front room. And it's been nice. I've liked it. It's been great having something that I could watch with people because my alternative was looking at it on my electronic devices that are here, and that's not really conducive to sharing screens because they're on the other side of it. Well, today, Jason, do you want to tell them what happened?
Yeah, I want to tell them after you poured the salt into the wound on that one. Okay, so I was doing my daily. Okay, first of all, I let our bearded dragon run around Becca's studio during the day so she gets some exercise. So after about a couple hours, I end up playing Find the Dragon, which doesn't sound like what it is, the way it should sound.
Hey, I mean, you could have called it Find the Lizard.
Find the lizard, yeah. You know, it doesn't. It's not as fun as it sounds. And so I was looking for the dragon, and I moved the ironing board that happened to be by the television, and the next thing I know, I feel the television hit me in the back of the head, and it's cracked the screen and hit the floor, and yeah, so no more television.
So I called him on my way home from work and I said, I'm on my way to pick up the dog from doggy daycare, which, by the way, doggy daycare is a thing. And we'll talk about that too before I get started sewing, because I've got all sorts of stories I want to talk about. But doggy daycare is a thing. And I didn't even realize it, but we have become, I love the idea of a doggy daycare. We don't go every single day, can't afford to do that, but it is nice to have a indoor dog park that is supervised where we can drop off the pup for a few hours of play and socialization while we do other things. And so since Jason had to do some errands today and I had to be in the office all day and Zoe was at school, we thought, well, we've got a little bit of extra money this paycheck. Why not let him go enjoy a day of socialization and playing with the pups? So we dropped him off at doggy daycare.
You thought that.
I thought that. So I called him on the way home and I told him I was on my way to pick up the puppy. And he said, I asked him if he wanted to sit in the sewing room and just like chat and look at the comments tonight, right? And he said, well, I guess I owe you. And I said, oh. He said, I'll give you, you got to tell, one of two things happened. And then he gave me some extravagant, ridiculous story that you knew right away was false. So I was like, okay, well, that didn't happen, but you have effectively drawn out the story. You are welcome. I
don't
mean,
know. I thought me running off with my gay lover Julio was a reasonable thing.
sure. I mean, okay, moving on. Then he said, well, the other one might have been while I was finding the lizard in your studio. I was like, this one isn't starting off any better. So, oh well. Oh man. So I think he's okay. Everything, like, you're okay?
Hmm. Oh yeah, no, it's fine. I was worried about the television until I saw there was no use to worrying about it because it was destroyed.
Gotcha. So what we're doing tonight is just working on some triangle paper. He's sitting in here keeping me company. We'll have a little bit of chat together as we're working through stuff. I don't know what I'm going to make. I just remember from last week's live stream, somebody said, would you please do a live stream with some triangle paper? And I said, sure. Next live stream I do, I will work with triangle paper. And so that's what I'm doing. Literally walked in the door at 7:15 tonight. So I haven't even been home an hour from work. I have no clue what to do. And this is, I think, very much something that maybe you can relate to, because maybe you work during the day, you take care of loved ones during the day, you watch some little, like, you're either raising your kids, you're raising your parents, maybe you're doing both, maybe you're working, maybe you're doing all three. And you know that you just want to have some time to sew, and you sometimes come to your sewing room and you don't know what to do or where to get started. And so that's where I'm at tonight. So what I did is I grabbed some triangle paper, mostly because you asked me to show you how to use it. And I just grabbed some charm packs. I have these left over from my pop-up shop. Ironically, I have 4 of them, and that's how many I want to play with. So that works out well for me. They are fire and ice batiks. You know I love my batiks. And there are a lot of contrast in here because there's red, gray, and black. And so there's going to be some high contrast in here, which is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm just going to show you how I use the triangle paper to make some half square triangle units with these charm squares. And I'm just going to keep making them with the triangle paper until I feel like I don't want to make any more. And then I will use those half square triangle units to put in a variety of different ways to make whatever blocks I feel like making. The nice thing about a half square triangle unit is it's pretty versatile. You just change it around, rotate it, and it'll start to make different blocks. So, anywho, Jason, they want to know, did you find, oh yeah, he already typed it.
In. I found the dragon under some fabric. It was right by this chair, right here.
What fabric is down there?
It was some fabric laying on the floor. She curled up underneath of it. I was looking all over. I went through the room 3 times. And then I finally moved the iron. I figured she must have crawled behind something, and I moved the ironing board, and that was it. Then after that, I found the dragon after, of course.
Well, what's funny is the other day when I was home, it was a few days ago, maybe over the weekend or something, you let the dragon in here during the day. And when you brought him in here, I had to leave the room to go do something. So I was gone for like 5 or 10 minutes. And we have a habit of shutting the door when we leave the room because we don't want the dog in here unsupervised. He's a lot of energy and he likes to chew on a lot of things and do all of the other things. So we definitely shut the door when we leave. And when I walked out of the room and came back, I forgot that the dragon was in the room. So I'm messing with some chords, I think I was doing, and I heard scratch, 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 scratch. I was like, what is that? What is happening right now? And I couldn't figure it out. Like, I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So I was like, well, that's odd. I hear it. I don't know where it's coming from. And I'm also having a hard time with, I'm literally multitasking, and I am failing to multitask. I'll just do it from my phone. I'm having a hard time doing something on the computer because they updated the operating system, and turning a setting on is no longer as easy as it used to be. So I am having a hard time setting the setting that I need to set, but it is done now. So I forgot that the dragon was in the room, and I just heard like this scrapey sound. And I was like, what is that? That's weird. It stopped. I went back to doing whatever it was I was doing, And I heard it again, scrapey, scrapey, scrapey. And I looked around, and see, the thing is, when Jason brings the dragon into the room, what he was doing is setting him on the back of one of my chairs in my conversation area, and he would sit there and just look out the window. But now he is taken to exploring the room. So there was no dragon on the chair to remind me that the dragon was in the room. So I got up and I started looking around. He's on the other side of the room, scratching at the wall. It was kind of weird. So you weren't the only one that lost the dragon in the room. I lost it too. Yeah? No? Okay. Becky T says, how old is your puppy? I have a 5-month-old border collie pup who finally lost all of her piranha teeth. Beetlejuice is 5 months old. He is a multi-poo. And yeah, I think that answered it. BC Tracy said, will there be a new TV? Well, will there?
Eventually, yeah. I'll once enough guilt has built up, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't think it's necessarily a guilt thing. I feel bad because it was my mom's TV, but on the other side, I bought it for her, so I don't feel so bad. And we were going to put a TV in the room anyway, so I think this is just kind of like the linchpin that'll have us do it. But I have lived in this space without a TV in here for almost a year. It's not something that we need to rush into. I think we need to get through Christmas first, and then we'll see what extra money we have and whether or not we want to make that purchase. But I think we're okay without it for now, especially since I'm in the office every day through the month of December. What are your thoughts?
Hey, if we got the money, we can get it. I don't.
Yeah,
It's
let's
whatever.
take care of Christmas first, and then we'll see. But it's there. All right. So Heather said, pesky lizard. All right, so let me show you what this triangle paper is all about. Hello, Ian. We're going to switch, and it looks like Donna's here too. There's a few others that are here that have channels. So the spoiler alert that I always give you is lots of you have YouTube channels out there. Feel free to share a link. If you are a moderator, feel free to share links for others. Check out other people's content. If you like what you see, consider subscribing. Let's move on to the overhead camera. So this is what we've got set up for tonight. This is what triangle paper is. And if you believe it, these are both, gosh, I started stuttering. Both. These are both going to make the same size half square triangle unit. It's just that this row is a little bit wider because you've got enough room on a single pull of the paper to make 2 sets of half square triangle units side by side, whereas this one is just single threaded. So they'll both make a 2-inch finished half square triangle unit. When you're looking at the roll, it'll tell you the size that the half square triangle unit will finish at. And then it does have directions here for you. It says that you should cut your fabrics 6-inch wide, and this is for the double one, right? 6-inch wide, because that's how wide this paper is. By your desired length, layer your 2 fabrics right sides together, pin the paper on, follow the arrows sewing on the dashed line with a 1.5 millimeter stitch length, and then cut on the solid lines and tear paper away. This is the wide one. Remember, you'd be making 2 sets at a time, whereas this is the single one. And this one is, I think it's a little bit older actually, but this one will make 200 altogether. And when I look at it, oh, this isn't the same one, is it? This is the It's So Emma. No, they're both the same. This is just older. Okay. This one, if you look at the directions, actually wants you to cut the fabric 3 1/8 wide, because that's how wide the paper is. But you know what? No, I don't got time for that. I just want to sew. So I'm going to use a layer cake. And Tiffany, you can look away now. But this is going to be a little wasteful because I'm going to have about almost 2 inches of excess if I do it this way, and I don't care. I just want to sew. I just want to create. I'm not going to worry about waste. This is about the journey, not about salvaging every inch of the paper. So for those of you that are anti-waste, look away now. So this is what you have. When you open... Oh, Ian says, I miss being in your studio. I miss you being here too.
Me too.
When you open it up, this is a very, very thin piece of paper. Bye, Kay. Have a good time at class. And so what you're going to do is pull off however many you want to make. Each one of these squares is going to produce 2 half square triangle units, because when you put 2 pieces of fabric together and you sew a 1/4 inch away on either side of that diagonal line that goes corner to corner, and you cut, you're going to have 2 triangle units. When you open them up, they'll make squares. You guys all know this, but just in case you didn't. So really what I need to do first is decide how many I'm going to make, because I want to rip that amount off, or better yet, if I don't want to be wasteful with this paper, I'm going to go with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Oh, wait, no, wait. Each one of these makes 2. 16 divided by 2 is not 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What I'm going to do is right here on this line after my 8, I'm going to grab my ruler and my rotary cutter, and I'm just going to cut this off. And then I'm going to roll this back up. And spoiler alert, if you have those washi stickers that we got in the Sew Sampler box this month, you could grab one for the 2-inch finished unit and use this to put on the paper to hold the roll nice and tidy. I don't have those within my reach, so we're just going to set that over there. I'm going to clean up this other edge, because when I first pulled it off, I only had a partial square here. So I'm just going to come in and cut. What do you guys think? Should I make Jason be the Iron Man today? Like Tiffany? Tiffany has an Iron Man in her studio, and that's what I want for Christmas. Could I have an Iron Man?
I'll see what Robert Downey Jr. is doing.
Ah!
See if he's busy.
Hi, Mary. Mary Kirsten says, it's my first time on live. Hello, and welcome to the live stream. People in the chat are giving Ian a little bit of heck. They're like, but you miss being there, but you don't miss falling down the stairs, do ya? Okay, so I'm going to show you one thing that we could do here. I don't know that I'm going to bother doing that. Because I'm working with charm packs, I can't really do the width of fabric thing. But what they're talking about when they say they want you to cut the fabric X amount of inches by however long you want it to be, that's because the way this is designed is you lay your width of fabric behind it for your background, and then your print, you put them right sides together, and as long as it's as wide as this strip is, you're just going to sew all the way down. You know what? Maybe I should do that. Hold on. Let's get a fat quarter. Let's do that. This is way bigger than a fat quarter. Let me get a couple fat quarters. Let's do it the way it was intended. I need to find 2 good contrasting fat quarters. And that's always the hard part, right? Finding 2 fat quarters that you want to actually use. How about red and green for Christmas? What do you think, Jay?
Sounds good to me.
But these are ombre. And you know what? Should we not overthink it? Should we just do it?
You're going to overthink it anyway. So
okay, let's overthink it. Let's overthink it. I've got it. We'll overthink it. It'll be great. Excuse me while I shop in my stash for fat quarters. Oh, this will work. We'll do this. Yes. That can still be Christmas-y. We'll do this. All right. I've got 2 fat quarters, florals and red and green for Christmas. They'll go together nicely. And what I want to do is make sure that my fabric, 1, 2, 3, 4, I want to make sure that my strip of fabric is as wide as the strip of half square triangle paper that I am working with. So I know if I want to do 4 of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm looking for about 12 inches. So I'll make it like 12.5 or something. So I'm going to do, huh? What'd you say?
Nothing.
Okay. I'm going to cut this right here. I've got 2 sets of paper. I'm going to cut 2 strips of fabric that are 12 inches wide or width of fabric will be about 12 inches, and then the other measurement will be however wide this paper is, which in this case is about 3.5. So I will cut 3.5 by that. This is a 3.5-inch ruler. It doesn't have to be exact. It can be a little bit wider. It just has to be at least that measurement. So all I'm really doing is opening this up, and I'm lobbing off probably about 3 3/4 for my strip of fabric. I know this is going to be more than 12 inches, and that's okay. We can definitely deal with that. And I know Jason's probably over there holding all of the inappropriate comments.
Not saying a thing.
Not saying a thing. All right. Does anyone use an Amazon Fire to watch YouTube? I cannot find a way to live chat on it. I don't know. I don't even own an Amazon Fire. Sorry, I can't help you with that. I haven't had an Amazon. I don't think we've ever had an Amazon Fire. Because that's the Kindle is the e-reader, right?
Yeah.
Is the Amazon Fire like the Roku stick?
I'm not sure. I haven't kept up with it.
Me either. Okay, so here's my first strip. VR says, so Becca, what would be wool mate to buy? Are you asking what wool mat should you buy? I have multiple wool mats, and all of the ones that I have, no joke, are actually from Martelli. I have one, a huge one, that was custom cut for me. I've used others. I have no problems with theirs, but I will tell you the ones that I've gotten from Martelli don't actually have any smell to them. I know people complain about sometimes they smell like wet dog. I haven't noticed that. All right. Always Late P says, I have a Fire Stick and you cannot chat on it. Good to know. All right, so now that I have these two strips cut, I'm going to take my roll of paper. This one's got some sticky residue on it. I'm going to put my two pieces right sides together. It doesn't have to be exact, just approximate. And then I'm going to grab my roll of paper and I'm going to grab a couple pins. And I want to pin this so that it all stays nice and together. Now it's going to be important where I actually pin this because I don't want to sew over my pins. So this little triangle area where there's no lines, that's where I'm going to start and end my pin. I don't want the pin to go through any of the, hey Jamie, thank you for subscribing. I don't want the pin to go through any of the dashed lines for sure. If I have to go through any of the lines, I would rather go through a solid line. The dashed lines represent the area where you're going to sew, while the solid lines represent an area where you're going to cut. You want to make sure that this lays nice and flat. And then I'm going to put it to 1.5, and now all I'm going to do is follow the arrows. When you're looking at the dashed lines, they all have arrows, so if you just follow the lines, you're golden. You're going to sew right on the dotted line, following the arrows. I'm going to come down here. When I get to this solid line, I'm going to pivot and come back up this side. When I get to that solid line, I can cut my thread and come back over here, or I can just stitch in this margin area until I get where my needle is going to be on this line, and then I'll sew down that line. When I get to the solid one, I'll pivot and come back up. I'm just going to make my V's all the way through. Pretty simple. I was wondering why my knee bar didn't work. It's because I had lifted the foot pedal presser foot thingy the old-fashioned way.
I hate it when that happens.
Just so on the dashed line. When I get to that solid line, I'm going to stop right with the needle right on that line. I'm going to pivot, turn, lift my foot up, and turn. I'm not quite on it. I need one more stitch. Just one, just one. Yes, thank y'all. And then come up the next dashed line.
Do you need to change the stitch length?
Yes, I'm using a 1.5 stitch length. And something doesn't feel right underneath there. That got a little too tight. That's fine. The 1.5 millimeter stitch length allows you to, it makes the needle perforate the paper. so that you can rip it off a little bit easier. And then I'm going to turn and come back up this other side. This is kind of like what I would call foundation paper piecing for dummies. And I don't mean that in a derogatory term at all. It's just, it's the same elements as foundation paper piecing, but they take a lot of the guesswork out of it and they make it really easy so that anybody can do it. So I came down one, up the other, down one, up the other, and now I'm going to turn around, and from the side where I just exited, I'm going to follow those arrows coming back. I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm just going to stay right on that dotted line. I can sew in the margins that it's completely okay because I'm going to trim that away. And that's it. Now all four of these are sewn together, and the next step is to just start cutting. So the first thing that you can do it whatever way you want, but I think the easiest way is to first cut this long margin off. So I'm going to line up my ruler so that it's right on that solid line, and I'm just going to cut, I'm going to cut on the solid line. Yes, the paper is still on it. Yes, I'm still using my rotary blade. No, it doesn't make a huge difference. So there's one margin cleaned up. Now flip it around. I have a secret to tell you while I'm doing this. I love the sound and the feel of this crinkle paper. It reminds me of like that crinkle paper that you would have in babies' books. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, I love the way it sounds, and I
Or
love the way
Bible.
it feels. Huh?
Or Bibles.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. It's not quite like Bible paper, but I mean, it's thin like that. I think Bible paper is better quality and holds up better, but...
Good, now I know what to get you for Christmas. You're cheap.
Newsprint.
Yep.
So this is just scrap. We're gonna, not scrap, that's trash. We don't need that. Now, I've got some extra fabric hanging off either side of this strip of paper, so I'm gonna clean those up. I'm going to line up my marker on that nice cut edge, that nice clean edge that I just made, put the ruler right on that cut edge of the paper and trim that off. I'll flip it around, do the same thing to the other side. And now on each of these solid lines, I'm just going to go in and cut right on that solid line to produce 4 units. And then one more step before we turn these into the blocks that they were destined to be. I'm going to turn them 45 degrees so that this diagonal line is coming towards me, and I'm going to cut on that line. This one you don't have to be super accurate about because this is going to be in your seam allowance. So as long as you are separating the 2 blocks, that's really all you care about. Don't worry if you're not exactly on the line, just aim for close. If you are making a ton of half square triangle units that are exactly the same, this is definitely the way to go. Or multiple of the same, this is a great way to go too. Once all of those are done, you just pull the paper off. So I do that by folding the paper back so that the perforation is kind of creased, and then I just give it a little tug, one of the sides a little tug, sometimes both, doesn't really matter. And it'll just rip right off, which is kind of super satisfying. Did your mom ever make you clip coupons from like the newspaper when you were younger? Gosh, my mom had a friend that loved to collect coupons. and she would give us like a whole $1 to clip her coupons. So she'd bring the Sunday paper over. And I never wanted to do the ones that required scissors, but if I found the one that had the perforation, I was all about it. What about those notebooks that had the perforated paper on the inside of the notebook? Did you ever have a problem like not ripping those out? I always wanted to tear them out. Like, I like perforation. I like ripping the perforated edges.
Yeah.
That's what this is. You're just like, oh, perforation. Ah, yes, satisfying.
I always hate when it didn't tear right.
Well, yeah, so this paper is really, really thin. It's not like notebook paper. It's definitely not like, copy paper, laser jet paper. This is more akin to like the paper that you would get in a telephone book. Yeah.
What's that?
Oh my gosh. Or, okay, fine. The wrapper paper at McDonald's.
Okay, I understand that.
It's really, really thin. It holds up enough to do something with it, but it's not meant to last very long. So it's thin, so it ends up ripping really easily. So now I've got 8 half-square triangle units, literally all squared up, perfectly assembled. I can come in with my iron and just press these so that they're laying flat, and I can do this assembly line as well. I'm going to press them all over to the red side, because that's just the direction that I went. It doesn't really matter. You can press them open, you can press them to the green side, whatever works for you. I'm just pressing to press. Now you do still have your dog ears here. I don't usually worry about trimming my dog ears off. They don't really seem to add so much bulk that I can't work with them. I usually leave them on, but you're more than welcome to take a pair of scissors and clip them off. The nice thing about this is you don't have to do that painstaking thing where you sit with your ruler and your rotary cutter doing the trimming on all of the sides. So that's it. I've got 8 just like that. And we're 34 minutes in, 8 perfectly squared half-square triangle units. Let's make another 8.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get on that.
Okay, so what I'm looking at right now is this stretch of fabric is not as wide as my paper. It is wide enough to make 3, but it's not wide enough to make 4. So I'm going to set that aside. I'll use that to make some more later. I want to be able to make exactly 4 more just like that. So I'm going to cut 2 more strips, a strip of red and a strip of green. I'm going to repeat the same steps that I did before. I know if you take 16 blocks, you can make a 4x4 patch. You can make a block out of 16 blocks. And so what I'm trying to do is just get 16 half-square triangle units so we can play with it and see what orientation we want it to go into. So, all right. I'm going to come over here to my iron because my husband doesn't want to press my fabric. I'll press it myself. Love you.
More guilt. How about that? I'm getting high-roaded all over the place today.
What did you get a tool? Oh, yes, I did. So Ian's reminding me in text message that I got a tool in the sew sampler box to remove dog ears. Why don't I grab that tool and let's demonstrate how that works to clean up all these dog ears? That's a good idea. Thank you, Ian. Or whoever said that to tell Ian to say that. I was going to use the triangle paper to start working on the project that was in the sew sampler box, but I just did not have time to get everything prepped, and I was like, no, I'm good. But now that I see how easy it is to like cut this and start sewing with it, I probably could get that project using the half-square triangle units or the half-square triangle paper. I feel like I could get that knocked out in no time flat. So again, same thing that I did before. Just gonna measure how wide this is. I'm going to cut my fabric so that it's approximately the same width, at least that size or bigger. This is my extra that I will use later. Do they make the paper in bigger sizes? Why, yes. Yes, they do. This makes a 7-inch finished block. This makes a 6.5-inch finished block. There's all sorts of sizes. I just happen to be working with the one that will make 2-inch finished. I do have an affiliate link with Fat Quarter Shop. If you want to pick any of this up, in the description box or in the chat, you can do !FQS. You can get my affiliate link over to Fat Quarter Shop, buy some of this paper for yourself. They have really good prices, and the nice thing about it is, we'll use that later. The nice thing about it is your price is not increased at all, but I do get a little commission for your sale, which helps with the cost of running the YouTube channel. So great way to support me without spending any money that you weren't going to spend anyway. All right, same thing as I did before. I'm not even going to pin it. I'm just going to hold it flat with my fingers this time. I love cutting. I love shortcuts whenever I can find them. Anything to get me to the sewing part faster. Right? Jason said right.
I did.
That one is not great. So here's what I'm going to do. This one I just noticed I was sewing along, and when I pivoted, I sewed probably, you know what, we're going to leave it. It's fine. It's fine. It'll be fine. I sewed like next, about 3 threads next to that line, which is going to mean that half square triangle unit is just going to be a little bit shorter than the other ones, or a little bit smaller, but only by a couple of threads. We're just going to leave it.
Don't know. Sounds kind of amateurish to me.
Well, it'll be a couple threads smaller on both sides, so it will be smaller, but it won't, it'll be made up for in the seam allowance. It'll be okay.
You say so.
Not worth the headache of trying to rip those teeny tiny stitches and end up ruining the paper because it's so flimsy. It won't be able to stand up to having the stitches ripped. It'll be fine. Get on that solid line, pivot. Have some fun free stitching in the margin. Hello, Brenda. She said, hi from Maryland. I am new to your channel. Well, welcome to the live stream. All right, same thing that I did before. I'm going to place my ruler so that it's right on that nice solid line on both edges. And we're going to cut off that margin area. Just like this. Flip it over, do the other margin. Is it weird for you, Jason, that you're like hearing me live, but seeing me delayed?
It is weird. It's, yeah. Actually, it's only weird when you leave the screen and then I see you come back and then, but you're not back.
Denise Offenbacher is saying YouTube channels cost money. No, it does not cost money to open a YouTube channel, but what does cost money is the equipment and materials, right? So like having a good camera to use, or cell phone if you're streaming off of a cell phone, buying materials to make projects that we're demonstrating for you, all that stuff costs money. And paying for really high-speed internet so that we can upload, that costs money. It's operating expenses, but no, the YouTube channel itself does not cost money. And also, even more importantly, I love to give stuff away, and that costs money. I mean, all the other stuff is stuff that I've paid for. Whatever, doesn't matter. I think I've answered the question. I'll stop while I'm ahead. All right, we're going to cut all of these. Would you like some of my stash? No, Louise, thank you. I appreciate it. But I have plenty for myself and more than enough to share.
That ain't no lie.
Shoo. Hi, Jeannie. Jeannie Lipsky is here in the chat. She says hello. Yeah, I could see making a quilt of half square triangle units now that I have this, because man, I've just knocked these out. This is awesome. Denise says, oh, okay, thanks for the info. Hopefully because it's a business, you can write some of it off. Yep, you can take tax deductions for the things that you purchase, but it's still money that you have to spend out. You don't get 100% of your purchase back in from your government. You just get a tax credit. The Laurel Bush says, hello, hi. Lily says, lighting and mics and your commitment, which I appreciate greatly. Yes. Yes, the lighting is expensive. I mean, it's an initial cost up front and then an ongoing cost, I think, to maintain good equipment. If you want, yeah, we don't need, I'm not going to go down this path. We're just going to stop here because I don't want people to think that I feel like my channel or my content or my production quality is better than anybody else and you must have this, because I don't think that. I think everybody should have the ability to do whatever they want on their channel and use whatever equipment they have at their disposal or can afford. The Laurel Bush says, I have triangle rolls from the Fat Quarter Shop, but I haven't used them yet. Me either, Laurel. But guess what I'm doing tonight? Lee Croak says, so do I. I'm not going to live long enough to use it all, and I can't stop buying the new pretty stuff. Do you use a smaller stitch length on these, Denise says. Yes, I do. I usually turn mine down to like a 1.2 or 1.3, although this does say that you need it to be a 1.5. Hey, Mama Nancy. Nancy Sexton's in the chat. Who the heck is that? Why don't you talk to her?
Nancy Jean?
Yeah, Nancy Jean.
Nancy Jean's here?
Nancy Jean is here.
Oh.
Nancy
What's she
Jean.
up to?
Oh, I don't know. Probably giving you a hard time.
No, not Nancy Jean.
You guys, it's funny. Mom, I'm waiting for her to respond before I tell you the story, but my mom and husband have a unique relationship and they have nicknames for each other. Oh, thank you, Gigi. Gigi Quilt says, my top looks nice on me. Thank you. Jason likes this top too, but probably not for the same reasons that you do. Oh, let's see. Is she going to come back with it? I don't know. Are you looking at the chat waiting for her reply? Is she not even listening to the audio? Maybe this is where the delay hurts us, right? Use the tool. I will, Linda. I will use the tool. Let me finish pressing these. Nancy, guess who Nancy is? Also Nancy Jean, by the way. So she told me that before. She was like, every time you said Nancy Jean, I thought you were talking to me.
Also,
there's two Nancy Jeans. Nancy Jean is not replying to you, Jason O.
Well, I'm telling you, if I would have known Nancy Jean was the name before Zoe was born, she might not have been a Zoe. She might have been a Nancy Jean.
My husband loves my mom's name when it's combined with the middle name. He didn't know what her middle name was until about a year or so ago, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, her middle name is Jean. And he was like, Nancy Jean. Nancy Jean. So now every time he sees my mom, he goes, Nancy Jean. And my mom always replies with Jason O. because his middle name starts with an O. Math Geek says, I think the tool is used before you press them open. See, I haven't used the tool yet. And you're right, it is. So let's press them closed and then use the tool. Oopsies. So here we go, easily fixed. Thank you, Shelby, for letting me know that I was moving too far ahead. And that's probably why people are like, use the tool, use the tool.
You're a tool.
Oh, thank you. Lori from Vegas. Do you remember the lady from Vegas, Jay, that was sitting by the door by the tree?
Yeah.
That's Auntie L Handmade in the chat.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
you're
there's
awesome.
Mom with her love my Jason. Oh, finally,
I'm
like
not her
3 years
favorite
later.
anymore, though.
Apparently not. Maybe you're not. Maybe
I'm not her
Josh is the new
Yep,
favorite.
I'm not her favorite anymore, I'm sure.
Do you think she calls Josh and goes, Joshua? I don't know. What does she call? What does she call Josh?
Her favorite.
All right, I've only pressed half of these closed, just so that I can do this, and then we'll see. So let's read the instructions and do a demonstration, and we're going to learn together how to use this tool. For those of you that want to know, it is the dog ear clipper tool. Not doggy ears, but dog ears. It says, place a half square triangle unit using your preferred piece it. Place the dotted line of the dog ear clipper tool on the seam. Okay, it is on the seam. And then it says, align the right edge of the tool along the right edge, so we're going to place the dotted line on the seam, and then this edge of the tool has to be along that edge of the fabric, and then we're just going to come in and clip like that. So you should have something that looks like that. That's right. And then we'll flip it over and do the same thing for the other side. Align the raw edge with the fabric, put the dotted line on the stitching, and come in and go like that. And then when you open it up, dun da da da, you have a perfect half square triangle unit block that is trimmed, sized, and has 0 dog ears. So we're going to do 2 methods. I'm going to use the tool, and then I'm going to use the scissors, and you can tell me which one you like better. Because the scissors, I don't think this tool actually gets me anything extra other than maybe a more accurate cut, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, there's one. I find when I'm doing this that if I turn it so that it's like this in front of me, I get better control of my rotary cutter. So I talked to Mom on my car drive home one of the days this week that end in Y. I don't know which one that was. And she and Rick have decided that I don't think they've decided. I think they're discussing. I think they're planning to come up for Christmas on the 27th.
Okay.
On that Thursday or something like that. Brenda said, scissors are quicker. Yeah, we're about to find out, Brenda. We're about to find out. Let's see.
What'd your mom get me for Christmas?
I don't know. Why don't you ask her? Probably a new wife. She's got 3 daughters. You can pick.
The other one's taken, and well, actually, both of them are taken.
Which?
Besides, what would she do with you? She doesn't do returns.
She doesn't do returns. I'm putting a poll in the chat. You guys can tell me, vote, which one would you use, the clipper tool or the scissors? And I'm going to demonstrate both while you're voting. Feel free to wait to see which one happens. Feel free to wait to vote. That's totally up to you. This is a little finicky. I will give it that. Mom said, nope. Can you slide the ruler to the left end? You can, but then what happens is watch this. If I line it up over here and I do this, I'm not at a good angle to make my cut. I gotta kind of come over here because I want to have good control of that rotary blade. So that's the first thing. And now if I slide it over here this way, I really don't feel comfortable making the cut this way because I don't, I'm right-handed, so now I have to slide my body over this way. It just, it feels very awkward to me. I'm sure some people can do that easily. You can slide it back and forth. I think the reason why you have the ridges on one side and the other side isn't for you to be ambidextrous, but so that the tool can be used for both left-handed and right-handed things. You don't have to flip it around though. If you just notice what I did. Here, look, let me show you that again. I'm going to put the dotted line on top of the seam and line up this long edge along with the right edge of the fabric. And then I'm just going to flip this around, and I don't have to flip the ruler. I just still have to put the dotted edge on that seam. And now I just line up the short edge on the raw edge of the fabric and cut that off. It gets me the same results no matter what. So I kind of hold this in one hand and just keep going. That is a shortcut that you can take. But if I'm being completely honest, this notion definitely feels a little finicky, a lot more fussy than I feel like it needs to be for what it does. But all of my dog ears are now trimmed. So now we're going to do it the old-fashioned way. We're just going to stack up. Donna Jordan does this all the time in her channel, and it's something that I have done as well. Get them all in a pile, and I expose one, trim it with the scissors, flip one down, expose it with the scissors. I feel like the scissors go faster. The biggest thing with the scissors is just making sure that you're keeping hold of your fabric if you're going to hold a pile of them all at once. Now I'll flip it around to this side. That one's done. I'm going to go from the top this time. One's done. 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 I also like the sound of the scissors going through the fabric. There you go. That was the scissors. What do you think went faster, Jay? The rotary cutter or the scissors? It felt like the scissors went faster to me.
Probably the scissors.
The scissors felt less weird or awkward. Maybe once you use the tool a bit, it'll be a little different. Oh, Jewel Soren says, I loved Becca's trees and Ian's cards. You guys gotta stay tuned because Teresa's video will be on day 11. Donna's video will be on day 10. I can't wait to see what they made. And then Tiffany made that Southwestern themed. So, Jason, I'll have to show you Tiffany's video later. For the ugly quilt challenge that we did, she made a Southwestern themed fabric with some really bright green fabric and all of those fat quarters that, you know, you wanted to wipe your butt with. I think the scissors are faster. Okay, there we go. So all of those are done. We're only an hour in. I have 16 perfectly squared up half square triangle units. I have stopped to talk along the way, and there are no dog ears on these either. So awesome. Math Geek says, I'll have to give the dog ear trimmer a try next time I use the triangle papers. Thanks for demoing. You're welcome. Gloria Butler says scissors. And looking at the poll, how would you clip your dog ears? 94% of you said scissors and 6% said the clipper. Wow, that's awesome. Let's start a new poll. We're going to do a poll to ask you, how would you, come on, come back here. How would you piece your HSTs? Next time, how Will you try HST paper? Yes or no? Who's going to try half square triangle paper next time? You can answer the poll at the chat to let me know if this is something you think you're going to try. I love your box opening shorts. However, is there a... No, no. Terry, sorry. The videos are already edited. Apologies. She said, I love your box opening shorts. However, is there a way to make the final product showing just a second or two longer? It cuts off so fast it's hard to see some of the items. I know. They're all edited. They're all scheduled. They're all ready to be released. But I have gotten that feedback. I have heard that feedback, and it is something that I will implement during future videos that I record and edit. So fortunately, I don't have the bandwidth to go back and re-edit every single one of those videos. I just don't. But what I will be doing is a final video after all of the packages are open, talking about all the items that were inside and what I thought. And that'll come out after Christmas. And by the way, I think all of the boxes, I'm not opening a box that nobody else has bought. Several of my content creator friends all have the same boxes, and they are doing longer form content on all of them. Tracy from the sewing channel bought $1,000 worth of boxes. Like, I know she got a ton of Advent boxes and opened them all in one video. So you're welcome. Fallon from So Be It Quilts is doing some unboxings. So is Chris O'Neill from Sew the Distance. So if it's something that you want to know right now and you don't want to stick around and wait for that longer video for me to produce later in the year, feel free to check out one of their videos, because it's no competition. I'm just trying to do something different. I figured there was a lot of people doing the long form content this year. I wanted to do something a little bit different. I just didn't execute as well as I should have. Okay, love FPP, but for HSTs, it's just as easy to do them 8 at a time. Yes, it is. And what Polly is talking about is when you take 2 squares and put them right sides together, and you sew around all 4 edges, and then you cut it into like a cross and then crossed again, you get 8 half square triangle units. It's really cool. All right, so these are all of my half square triangle units that are, you guys are nice. I appreciate that. I'm sorry if I sound like I'm apologizing. I have a hard time when I feel like I have disappointed people, and I know there are a handful of people out there that are not happy with some of the shorts. I apologize. It makes me feel bad knowing that I've let you down, but I'm trying to move past that, move on to something else positive, because I could sit here and feel I could let myself get eat up with guilt in that. So we're just going to move on. All right, so we've got all these half square triangle units, and now what I want to do is just kind of lay them out into, I know I'm going to do 4 rows of 4. So I'm just going to right now lay them all out in the same, let me go over here so I can see the overhead camera. I'm going to lay them all out in the same direction, and this is where they become really versatile, because I can just turn them, right, and start to get different block designs, and then whenever I find the layout that I like, I can sew it together. I saw Jenny Doan do a trunk show years ago. It was right before COVID, actually. She came to the Lancaster, Pennsylvania area, and I drove up for the trunk show. And one of the things that she talked about in her trunk show is the whole idea of what if. Oh, thank you, Chris, for subscribing. And what she demonstrated is that sometimes really what she does is just thinks about, well, yeah, you can do it that way, but what if we just change this one thing? What if we just do this one thing a little bit differently, and you end up with something completely different? Her whole motto, her whole approach of that show, that trunk show, really seemed to be about trying old things in a new way, trying to do just giving them a new spin. So actually that block I think looks really cool. And I'll hold it up so Jason can look at it.
Okay.
That's one block that you could do. Or you could make it into a star block really easily by creating some star legs. So the way you'd want the star legs is to make flying geese units on all 4 sides of the block. So you're just going to take one of these, nope, this way. You want to make sure that the flying geese units are all going in the same direction. So we would do like this and this. There we go. So there is star legs here, here and here. You can see them starting to come together. And then I could give myself a little diamond shape in the middle by pointing all of the red to the center and all of the green to the outside. So now we've got this square and a square block in the middle that's starting to form. And then if I want some high contrast in the corners, I can point all the red from the four pieces in the middle in towards the center. So this is another variation that we can make with those same units. Jay, what do you think? Look up here.
Oh, let's look at the
Star block.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep.
Yep.
You could do that. You could also do, this is a fun little block. This looks like little envelopes. So I could turn 4 patches so that all of my reds for 3 are pointing in, and then I have 1 that's turning out. So you got something like that. I'll turn this one in. I'll turn this one out and away. I'll turn both of these in. And then you'll end up with this green square in the middle. And that looks like you've got 4 little envelopes opening in, oops, I've got this going the wrong way. 4 little envelopes opening in different directions, which looks like, guess what? Another star, but it's the same block 4 different times. Does that make sense? What do you think of this star? It's basically the same one I had before, almost, just different colorway.
I like the other one.
You like the other one?
Yeah.
So let's just turn this back the way with the red in. Make the green legs. Oops, nope. Green legs, I can't think. Got to rotate until that's not right. That's right. Move this in. Green legs here. Feel like I'm saying green eggs and ham. Green eggs and ham I am. Okay, there we go. Is that right? Nope, this one has to go. That's right. So this is the one that you liked? Like this?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, we're going to sew it together. So that's it. By the way, Jan says, you're not a disappointment. I love your videos. You explain things. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I just want to be clear. I didn't think that whoever was asking about making the videos just a second or two longer thought I was a bad person. I just beat myself up if I feel like I didn't do things the right way. It's not taken personally. So please don't think that I think you're a horrible person or I am upset with you at all. Definitely not. So now I'm just going to sew my rows together. So I put the first 2 together and, oh, Jewel says you could make a pinwheel in the middle. You could. So I'm going to make the first row, the bottom row, and then the side rows, and then we'll play around with that middle row and I'll show you what she was talking about. That would be fun. There we go. One more. Lori says, I have never used the half square triangle paper, but it looks like if you have a bunch to do that are all the same, this could be a time saver. I agree. Okay, so once all that's put together, we can press this. I am going to press all of the seams. I could press them open, but I think I'm going to press them all towards one direction. One direction. Hey, they are technically a boy band. And that's the top row, so my seams are pressed towards the left. I'm going to do the bottom row and actually don't know which way. Left, right, left, right. The bottom row, the seams should be pressed to the right if I want everything to nest. Oh, Jenny! We have a casualty. Jenny fell. Somebody get Jenny.
Do the voice.
Do the voice? Oh, I gotta think, what was the voice?
All I remember sounds like
Hold on.
Julius Child.
But I can't remember how it sounds. These are all the loose buttons I found in my couch. Wait, what was the other one? Happy Cinco de December. That's it. There's the voice. Is that even a thing? Well, it is now. I just made my needle come unthreaded.
You snorted.
I did. Happy Cinco de December. I think I can't get it in my head. Like I can't do it when I'm on the spot. I'm British. Has Jenny been imbling on the spiked eggnog? Ian says, sounds like Jenny is picking up some of my habits. Falling down. Gotta have somebody falling over. Although Donna is at a retreat with a few others, and she sent me, let me move this down here. She sent me, and I think she sent it to Ian too. Ian said I think he said he got it. She sent me a video of Tucker falling out of his chair. I think they were reenacting Ian falling on a live a couple weeks ago. She's like, oh no, are you okay? And it definitely sounded like she was acting. Oh no, are you okay? Tucker looked like he staged a fall. There we go. Get in there. Ha ha! I fell down!
Throwing and drinking don't mix.
Save Jenny. Donna said, save Jenny. Pat says, it sounded like a Jenny Doan, Julia Child mashup. I'm just so helpful. Oh, there was one that somebody commented and said I sounded more like Forrest Gump. And it was the day that I went, I have no idea why I talk this way. I just do. I have no idea why. That's it. It's that higher pitch, isn't it? I have no idea why I talk this way. I just do. That's the voice. I couldn't hear it. Couldn't hear it. All right, we're going to press these teams from the bottom row to the right. I'll tell you how that voice came about. Jason doesn't even know this story. So Ian has this TikTok channel that he watches, and this lady like superimposes her lips on images of like Renaissance paintings, like the Mona Lisa and stuff. And she says really weird things. She'd be like, frothy. And you just see like her lips move and that's it. And that voice got stuck in my head. And we were driving back from somewhere, I don't remember what it was. And I was just like, man, I've got all these shorts that I need to do for these advent calendars. And I want to add some personality to it. So I don't know what to do. And I want to incorporate Flat Jenny somehow. I was thinking maybe I could have Flat Jenny introduce the packages or just add some commentary, but I want to keep it to like 20 seconds, right? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, and I just started, because I had that voice in my head, I just started spitballing stupid things Jenny would say. And one of the things that I said in the car, and it got a huge reaction out of Ian, was, Happy Cinco de December! And he was like, that's hilarious. I was like, oh, you have just encouraged me. Thank you. And I just went with it. Happy Cinco de December. That should be a holiday. Just saying. All right. We press these seams to the left. We're going to press these to the right. But before we do, I'm going to make my flying geese on the either side. So that, yeah. Now, why am I even doing it this way? Like I should have pressed all those seams open, because now I can envision I'm going to have a problem here when I put all of these rows together because of the way I am doing this. I'm going to end up with a problem, and this will be Flat Jenny's fault. What? Me? I didn't do anything. Yes, you did, Flat Jenny. It's all your fault. What? Why, I never.
Jenny's voice reminds me of Klinger mimicking Father McCabe. MASH reference. Love it.
Jenny's voice just reminds me of Probably. I'm so terrified that Jenny Doan is going to see that and be like, yeah, so Becca.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see you. And not in a good way.
I crush you. I crush you.
I smush you between my finger and my thumb. I'm gonna press these open so I don't run into issues later.
You ever watch the kids in the hall with that?
Yeah,
The kids in the I crush your head.
I crush your head.
I crush your
Crush your head. It's funny because right after, I think on day one, Ian knew I was going to do them, and he got to see some of the edited ones as I was scheduling them, because I scheduled them all to go in November. Like before he even left my house, they were all scheduled, uploaded, everything was done. I'm not actively doing anything right now other than working my butt off right now at my 9 to 5. But they were all scheduled and uploaded. He even got to see a few. But on day one, he shared a post on Instagram and tagged like Jenny Doan, at Jenny Doan, and she replied like ha 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 or something. I don't know. So I know she at least saw Ian sharing something. I don't know if she watched it, and I don't know if she was really laughing. Or she was like ha ha ha. I mean, it's all in the tone, right? You know how they say it's like, it's all what you say. Let's eat, kids, or let's eat, kids. You know, it's all in the delivery.
It's like, I like children, or I
like children. It's the same thing. Was she like ha ha ha, or was she like ha ha ha, like the slow clap?
Yeah. Or it could have been a maniacal like,
Yeah, it could have been that one. With like the Monty Burns. Excellent. Bottom row is upside down. Yeah, probably is. We'll fix it later.
Plotting your demise as we speak.
Plotting my demise as I speak.
She's sitting in her lair. I will destroy SEWBECCA's chin.
I will do it. This bottom row is no, it's good. That's how it should be. Yeah, that's right. If we're making star legs, that's correct. That's my top and my bottom row. But if I do this, it's upside down, right? That's how it should be. And now I've got these flying geese units. I'm going to press these seams open too. Pressing the seams open just makes it lay a little bit more flat. I think I'll turn this into a mug rug, and maybe I'll give it away. Ooh, give it away, give it away, give it away now. Okay, Jason, what reference was that?
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, you're so smart. You're a smart cookie, you are.
No, I just didn't do much growing up without TV. I was a very lazy child.
All right, so these are the star legs for the side. We want to make sure that the red is pointing in towards the middle. And then somebody, please forgive me, I don't remember who it was in the chat, said that in the center, instead of doing a square and a square, we could do a pinwheel. And so to do that, we're just going to alternate red, green all the way around. We can see if we like that. What do you think of that?
Okay.
You want to do that?
Do that.
Do that.
Do that.
Do that.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. What he said.
Yeah. Jeez.
You were on live stream for 2 hours, and what did you do? A whole block.
Oh.
Okay, wait, true story.
Pretty soon it's going to turn into a drinking game. Every time Becca snorts, take a drink, take a shot.
There is a bar somewhere with at least one patron that's like, just wait, she'll snort. No, so true story. I'm recording the voiceovers for the Jenny boxes for Flat Jenny. And I got the jar of buttons and I dumped them out and I couldn't think of what to say. So I was like, those are all the loose buttons I found in my couch. And after I recorded it, I thought it was so hilarious. I sat in this room by myself and I laughed for 2 minutes straight, like big belly laughs literally snorting. And at the end, I was like, oh, that was good. So when I was editing the video back, Ian was in here when I was editing, and he heard me just laughing. He's like, I think it's great that you just laughed at yourself. Because it was. Oh, shoot. Okay, Miss Becca, you're having way too much fun with your husband tonight. Just laughing way too much. Jason cracks me up. I always say that the one, like, I don't know. I like guys who are smart, and I like one of the things, I like smart guys, but I also very much like guys that make me laugh, and Jason makes me laugh. He's going to insert some sort of funny business here, but he's very funny.
Nope, I'm saying nothing.
I was waiting for you to be like, she laughs at my looks all the time. Or something stupid. I think you're a very attractive man. I don't laugh at your looks.
Not saying anything.
I think you're hilarious. You're hilarious.
I think I'm funny. To me, anyway.
He definitely thinks he's funny. I can't tell you the number of times. Oh my gosh. I've got 2 stories that just kind of, this is what my life is like. So Jason has this friend, Dave. You know the story I'm going to tell.
I know.
Jason has this friend, Dave. They've been friends since you were like 3 months old?
No, we met in middle school. Middle school.
So they met in middle school. They were friends. They're still friends, like lifelong friends. And they have that relation. Dave is in the Navy.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, he's been in the Navy for a very long time. But they have that type of friendship where Dave doesn't always pop up, but when he does, they pick right back up where they left off with just without missing a step. And Dave happened to be in the area for some training for, gosh, it was like 9 months or something.
Yeah, well, he was stationed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget what base was.
Dahlgreen.
Yeah.
Something like that. But he was stationed in the area for some training. And so on the weekends, he had the weekends free, and he'd come stay with us on the weekends. And one day we're out driving around. We're in the car, me, Jason, Dave, and Jason's son, and we're just driving aimlessly. And we drove past Mount Vernon. And so we end up in the circle drive because I need to turn around. And I just make a statement, oh, that's where Mount Vernon is. He's over there laughing now. If you could see him, he is silently laughing. Like, he is belly shaking and everything. And I was just, the car was silent. I was feeling the silence. And I pull out of the driveway, and Dave just looks at me and goes, well, there you go. And I was like, thanks. It wasn't funny to me, but Jason thought it was hilarious. So he's in the back seat, and he just starts laughing like big bully, like he's slipping out of his seat, falling down laughing. And because he's laughing, guess who else thinks it's hilarious? Yeah, Dave. So the 2 of them are in the car just laughing nonstop, and I'm like, I don't get the joke. I didn't get the joke.
How could you not get the joke? You said you wanted to go by Mount Vernon, and we just went by Mount Vernon. Like, that was the joke. You did it. Congratulations. You did it. Like, that was it. Mission accomplished. Check it off the box.
Congratulations, world's best cup of coffee. You
that
win.
Was the joke.
So that's one of them. But that trait has carried forward to my daughter. And she had this laugh that was horrible to listen to. It was that hyena laugh. You know the one I'm talking about, right? I can't even do it. But she had this hyena pitched laugh that she would do. Something like that. It was like a hee-haw donkey laugh, and she thought it was hilarious. And so I walk past her bedroom to go do something, and she did something that she thought was funny, so she's standing there laughing at me with that laugh. And I'm like, I've been telling her, please stop with that laugh. It hurts my ears. Please don't do it. Jason comes around the corner. He sees me dealing with this, sees Zoe's laughing hysterically in her crazy laugh, and I'm frustrated trying to get her to stop, and he thinks it's hilarious, so he starts laughing. And what laugh does he do? The same exact one. The 2 of them were laughing at each other. It was horrible. Now it's caught in the middle. I am the butt of all of your jokes.
Not all of
Not
them.
just most of
A
them.
percentage.
A percentage.
Hefty percentage, but not all. That would just be mean.
Martha said, Becca, I love that your husband, hey husby, how's yous? I can't talk. Husby. Love that your husband is with you tonight. I like that he's in here too. It's nice
I'll tell you one of the best laugh sessions was between me and Dave. We sat around and this is so stupid. We were talking about
those are usually the best ones.
We were talking about theoretically.
Oh gosh.
On Star Trek where you can beam things.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm afraid of where this is going.
What would happen if you beamed a flaming bag of dog crap in front of it would, and we literally just laughed for like a half hour straight. We didn't stop. Like it was painful.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
so good. It was so funny.
You know what the ones that I think are hilarious though is when you say something and it's just you and I and you think it's hilarious because he will bend over in laughter and give himself a stomachache because he thought he was so funny.
Well, if I find it funny, I'm only in it to entertain myself. If anybody else laughs, then that's just
bonus.
Gravy. That's on you. But if I find it funny and mission accomplished, that's the goal.
I'm like, babe, you've told that joke so many times. It's not funny anymore. He's like, but I think it is. All joking aside, I love that you have a sense of humor. I think laughter is the best medicine. Even if you're laughing at me and not with me.
What's the ailment?
Huh?
What's the ailment?
What's the ailment?
Yeah, he said laughter is the best medicine. What's the ailment?
Marriage.
Take a drink. She snorted again. Take a drink.
That was quick too. It just came right out. We value quick wit in this house.
I can be sick of it sometimes. That's for damn sure.
Oh shoot. Marriage. What's the ailment? Marriage. And that's forever on the interwebs for everybody to see.
You know, if they were going to make a meme, that's when the frame would freeze and the sunglasses would come down. And married,
It was at that moment he realized he messed up. Oh, Linda said, you should have him on more often. He's so nice. It's so nice. I try almost every Friday. And he goes, nah, I don't want to do that. He goes and does something else. People like you. I told you they like you. No?
No.
Is this are you only here because the TV beat you up?
No. I
love it when
figured
you're
I put you off long enough. I can do one.
Great. It'll be another 6 months before he's back.
6 months? You think that's soon?
No. Oh.
You think this is a biannual?
This is my Christmas present. You don't know that. But underneath the tree will be a piece of paper. You can be like, December 9th. That's it.
Hey, I only got 22% left on this thing, so you might be out.
Well, it's 9:30, so I'll be done here in a bit. I can give you my phone that you can use too, because mine's sitting right here. My block's all put together. Mission accomplished. What do you think, Jay? of this very red and green block.
It's very Christmassy.
Well, that was the goal.
It is Christmas-ish.
Nancy Jean number 2 said, I think guess who Nancy should change her name to Nancy Jean. Nancy Jean number 2 said, "Thank you, Jason, for coming on. I needed the laugh." What do you think, Bubba?
That's all right. I like it. It works. I guess it depends on what you do with it.
Yeah. Well, you know, you can make a bunch of these, put them together and make a quilt, but I am an advocate for not everything needs to be a quilt.
Well, see, I'm the opposite. It seems like I think unless you make a quilt, it's a waste of time. Like table runners, I don't understand them. Placemats that we don't use.
You need to get the placemats out of the shed.
Why? So we can not use them?
Okay, so true story.
Are you gonna go into the story? Okay, do it.
Hold
That's
on.
so good.
Let's first create a poll. By the way, the poll that we had last time, will you try the HST paper? 70% of you said yes, and 30% said no. Let's create a new poll. Quilted placemats. Do you remove them? Do you leave them? That'll be the question. Do you leave them under your plate? Yes or no? Quilted placemats, do you leave them under your plate? So here's the question. We'll see what you guys say. Now, I will tell you the story. Last year at Christmas on a live stream, I took a charm pack of some very beautiful fabric. Love Note by Lulu Boutique, one of my favorite fabric lines, and I wanted to make charm pack placemats. So I cut that charm pack into 4 piles of 2.5-inch squares, and I sewed them together into just scrappy patchwork placemats, and I used beautiful fabric for the back and some lovely binding for the front, and they were lovely, and I put them on the table. And at the time we had this old table that is now downstairs in my parents' in-laws suite, in the in-law suite. That's what we'll call it, the in-law suite. They're downstairs in the in-law suite, and that's the table that was upstairs when this happened. We hadn't bought our dining room set yet. 4 places, 4 placemats, we were good. So I set them on the table. And we were setting the table for dinner, and I went around and took the placemats off of the table because I did not want my beautiful fabric stained. I wanted the placemats to be beautiful, because they were quilted and they were made by me and it was with fabric that I loved. And when I did that, I got this look from my husband. Because he could not understand why I was taking the placemats off the table. He said the placemats are supposed to be on the table because
they protect the table. That's the purpose of the placemat. Like that's its whole thing. That's the whole thing. That's why it's there. That's why it exists. That it's unnatural.
So, oh, we'll do that poll next, Susan. Don't worry. So I was like, okay, no, we're not doing that. And I told him, I stood up. I was like, no, we are not. We're not doing that. I don't care about this table. I care more about the placemats than I do the table. And then I think after like a couple weeks or so, I was like, fine, we'll leave them up there. I get it. That's what they're supposed to be used for. So I left the placemats up there. Wouldn't you know it, we had spaghetti and my daughter spilled spaghetti sauce on the placemat.
She did.
So, yeah. Do you want to know the results of the poll?
Yeah, I want to know.
No, don't look at me like that, like you know.
I want to know.
Okay, 83% said I was right.
I don't believe you.
I know, because 83% agreed with you. And 17% were like, no, take the placemat off. Now, how many of you would do quilted placemats for decorations and then replace it with the cheap vinyl placemat when it's time for dinner?
Now, see, that might be reasonable there, but
What about, let's do one more poll.
don't they have some kind of spray that you could make them stain resistant or something?
Probably. This is a poll from Susan Yearout. Susan said we should ask the community, should Jason be on my live stream next week? We'll see what the audience says. If the audience agrees, will you return sometime this calendar year?
This calendar year?
Yeah.
I was going to say yes, but I remember that this year is just this year's in a month. I was out of knee-jerk reaction, was like, sure, I can do it in a year, but then I was like, no, that's not even a month away. No, I'm not saying a calendar year. I give it a few months. I might come back.
Oh, Kathy said use Oxycoat on your best placemats. Awesome. Jewel says I would use the pretty ones. People are voting and then also typing their answer in the chat. They're clicking on the poll, voting, and then double voting by typing their answer in the chat. But don't worry, Jason. 4% have said no. 4% don't want you to come back.
Oh.
I think that 4% is you.
Wow. No, I didn't vote. Man. 4% don't like me? That hurts my feelings. Maybe I won't come back. Damn.
Whenever I see like a thumbs down or somebody say no or something like that, I don't tell myself that they don't like me. Instead, I'm just like, oh, they must have meant to hit the thumbs up button, but their finger just slid over to the right a little bit. Their finger slipped.
My feelings.
Oh, Oxycoat, not Oxycoat. Got it. 96% love you, though.
Can I get the addresses for those 4%?
Oh, the 4% has changed to 3. Somebody doesn't want you to have their address. Oh, giggle. Come back. Barb says, come back to hit the 4%. Oh, okay. Janet says, I accidentally hit no, and I can't change it. She's the 3%.
I'm making people feel guilty. That's a lot. People are guilty.
Tiffany said, I think you should have Jason on once a month, like a YouTube date night. I like that idea.
Oh, God.
That's only 12 times a year. Yeah.
I will take it under advisement. I'll take it under advisement.
Oh, yeah. Oh, the things we will do on those nights will be great. We will tell all the stories.
We're going to run out of stories.
Oh, we'll make new stories.
I don't think we got 12 stories, 12 more stories.
We've told all of them. We're done. Thank you. Good night.
Mic drop. Bye.
But some people do have a couple of questions. So if you have, look, Pat, you remember Pat with the camper?
Oh, yeah.
She said there is an alternative. If you must use the quilted placemats, flip over the reverse side when you eat.
Yeah.
That's smart. That is smart. But I do like the idea of once a month. Pam says, where is Jason from with that southern accent? They want to know where you from.
I'm a Virginia.
From Virginia.
I'm Virginia.
Yeah, from Virginia. He grew up in the Shenandoah Valley, right? Right.
Yep,
that's what it's called. Long 81 in the Appalachian Mountains. No, Appalachian Mountains are south of the Shenandoah Valley.
People are more likely to know JMU.
James Madison University.
Yeah.
That's where you went to school, right?
Well, that was my hometown too. So.
Yep.
Half the town is JMU now.
Oh, Jackie asked the same thing. Accent is familiar. Kathy said marriage counseling as through SEWBECCA's show. Lori said Harrisonburg, VA, with like 5 exclamation points. I know GMU, you got a big old yes from VR with like 25 exclamation points off the top, off the back. Sue So says Harrisonburg, and now all your JMU peeps are coming out of the woodworks like, hey, JMU represent.
That's my school.
And
My
go
hometown.
JMU. Yep, it is. That born and raised, Harrisonburg, Virginia. Family's still there.
Yep.
Yep. Jason, where are you from? Hi, VR. Harrisonburg.
Harrisonburg, not Harrisburg. You got to make sure it's.
He's not wrong. So when I first met Jason, and he kept telling me where he was from, he'd say Harrisonburg, and I would be like, oh, Harrisburg. And he'd be like, no, Harrisonburg. I'm like, yeah, Pennsylvania. I didn't get it. Susan, you're out, says, I thought I heard Virginia in your voice, Jason. Had some aunts from Virginia.
A lot of good things come from Virginia.
You?
What, a bunch of presidents?
James Madison? For what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh boy. Oh boy. We native Virginians are a rare breed.
Well, Virginia's for lovers, so we obviously breed with anything.
Oh geez, oh geez, oh geez. I am from Salem, Virginia. My friends in North Carolina make fun of the way I talk. Oh gosh. Becky says, hi, watching on TV, but hopped on to say hi. Voted yes on Jason coming back. Virginia has so many accents, but all are Southern. I don't think Northern Virginia is Southern. No. I think people in Northern Virginia talk like I do. I think you're the minority. You're the oddball.
Well, Harrisonburg has Harrisonburg's a unique, it's a Southern, but it's more, there is a
like a
northern,
country.
There is a Northern influence because you get a lot of Northern people coming, like I've met people that work there that came from like New York, and I'm like, how did you know where Harrisonburg was from New York? Like how's that on the map? It's just a small town. Well, this is back when I was younger, so I didn't realize how big, popular James Madison was at the time. So it never occurred to me that other people would know where Harrisonburg was.
That's
right?
True.
So there's a little bit of like Lyle caught on to where like sometimes I'll hang on to my A's, like a Boston accent. Like it just depends. It varies sometimes, but there is a Northern influence when you're around Harrisonburg. But yeah, you're right. Northern Virginia is not a Southern, even though it's south of the Mason-Dixon line.
Which is in Maryland.
Which is Maryland, but still, it's more of a.
So everything's south of the Mason-Dixon line.
But yeah, the Northern Virginia is not the Southern accent.
Oh, people want to see your face.
No. Don't do it. I won't come back.
This is Jason.
Oh.
I'm really such he doesn't want to be on camera. He's camera shy, but he is here on microphone and he's not even reserved. Like his this is full on Jason. This is the Jason that I have.
Coffee.
He's just drinking coffee. But I think if we got him in front of the camera, he would clam up. So we'll take well enough we'll take well enough. But what I could do is post a video, not a video, I could post a photo of the two of us in the Facebook group if you want to see what he looks like. Tanya Ross 57 said she went to Spotswood.
Oh, okay. All right. I went to Harrisonburg. Well, we had Spotswood students come in for JROTC and stuff. So I actually went to school with some Spotswood kids.
Heather said, "Aw, does he have a face made for radio?"
Hey, my hairline's running from it. That's how.
Honey, you're bald.
That's what I'm saying. It's running. Well, that's why I cut it off, because it's running away from my face.
Wanda Marsh said, make a paper Jason, then we can see his face without him appearing on camera. So
I'll just take a brown crayon.
Elizabeth said, but we saw you in the hotel one time. Remember that day when we sat in front of the camera and we just talked about like the transition and stuff?
Oh, yeah. Well,
So-
I've been on a couple times. I have
know.
been on before.
I will.
It was back when we were in Arlington and stuff. I took
Yeah.
I popped on there a couple times, but not often.
He had Amanda Groff says, I am from upstate and applied to the psychology department at JMU many, many moons ago. Jason, the voice. I forgot what I was going to ask you. There was a comment that I thought I was going to read. I don't remember what it was. Oh gosh, Tiffany said, just imagine Scott's bald head and glasses. Jason has the same bald head and glasses. They do. They kind of match in that way. They both have the military background a little bit, though. Scott is, because we never say was when you were dealing with a Marine, but Scott was in the Marines, is a Marine, and you were Army. So
National Guard.
But that's Army, right?
Yeah, well, there's other national. You have Navy. You have
I didn't know
there's
that.
other National Guards.
Okay, so
but I was Army National Guard. Yeah.
I wasn't in the military, so I don't know any of that stuff. I just like to pretend. So you were in the National Guard, he was in the Marines, but there's still some military-ish background. Does National Guard consider themselves military, or is that like completely different?
No, it's military. Like I went to the same basic training as active duty. It's just that when you're done with basic training, they go to their active duty station. I go back home.
Oh,
and then I
gotcha.
just do my one training every month.
So it's more like the reserves.
Well, National Guard belongs to the state. Like not me, because I'm not in it anymore, but National Guard answers to the governor. Right? Like
whereas the military answers to the president.
If the president wanted to activate us, he has to ask the president, he or she has to ask the governor to activate us. Now, there are reserve units, that's federal. It is kind of messed up to call it National Guard. I never understood why they call it National Guard when it's state.
So that's why, like, when all the stuff was happening in D.C. last year and whatever, the National Guard was being called in by, like, Virginia and Maryland. It wasn't like the president couldn't just order them to go. It was the governors that had the control of the National Guard units.
And see, with D.C., you would never call Virginia National Guard unit. You would call another state's National Guard unit and ask them. You don't call the same. If you have trouble in your own state, you don't call that National Guard.
Right,
unit.
But that's why Virginia and Maryland responded, because D.C. is not Virginia.
Yeah,
D.C. is not Maryland.
That is since it's
because I didn't understand.
Yeah,
I was like,
I guess that is true. It's kind of a weird thing, but normally you don't do that. Like if there's trouble in your state, you don't call the unit from that state.
Gotcha. My son was National Guard, and he did 2 tours in Iraq. My husband was National Guard. My grandson is in the Army Reserve. My youngest daughter visited the Episcopal Seminary in Virginia, and after the week she spent there, she can still pull off a good accent. Kathy said, National Guard is weekend warriors.
Yeah, no, hey, for the most, if you didn't get activated, I know a lot of people that, not a lot, but I know a few that went to active duty stations and got activated and stuff like that. And when I was working at Walter Reed, there was a lot of National Guard people running around there. I
think that was, I don't know how much of this story I can tell without giving stuff away, so I got to tailor the story a little bit. Jim Bennett says he was National Guard also, Army National Guard also. Gave you a thumbs up with the little flag. When we first moved to D.C., I was a contractor, and some of the places that I got to go work at were kind of cool. And Jason was a contractor, but worked not on site at any government facility or anything. He worked in an office building out in the suburbs. And then you ended up on a contract at the Walter Reed Hospital in Bethesda, Maryland, right?
Yeah. Well, it's on that side.
Yeah, up there somewhere.
It's on that side. Walter Reed's actually like 3 different places, but they kind of were closing some of the those other places down and consolidating, so it's hard to tell where it's actually at. But yeah.
But I remember there are 2 points that he was so proud about when he was on that contract. He ended up leaving because the commute was horrible. The first one was he came home and he was like, Becca, guess what I got to see today? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, I got to walk down the halls where JFK was. You remember that?
Where they took the body after he got shot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went down the hallway.
He was like, it was almost like he was starstruck. He was like, I got to walk down the halls where JFK's body was. I was like, okay. And so we had to talk about that, and that was really fascinating to him. And then the other one was when what was that movie, American Sniper?
I didn't get who's the guy?
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper. Yeah, Bradley Cooper actually came and did a screening with some of the veterans of American when American Sniper came out. I couldn't go. I wasn't,
You weren't a veteran.
I wasn't a veteran. So, but yeah, he came and did and a lot of stars went through there. Lou Diamond Phillips, I remember. They had a couple basketball teams. The president would pop in every now.
Yeah, he had to go for his COVID medication.
No.
You were calm by then.
Yeah, that was before COVID.
But that's where they took Trump when he was done.
Yeah.
He went to Walter Reed, right?
Yep. But it's always a pain when the president shows up at Walter.
It's always a pain. It's a pain when the president shows up at your high school in your neighborhood.
That's horrible.
Oh my God. Okay, so it was the first year Obama was in, right?
Yeah.
We bought the house in Arlington in 2008, and then Obama got in office.
Yeah.
And in 2009, he decided it would be a great idea to go to a local high school and deliver an address or talk to the students. He went to the high school walking distance from our house, which meant Secret Service and all sorts of other police and law enforcement had our entire neighborhood closed down, and we could not come or go from our house.
I remember I was already at work. I remember you calling.
I can't get to work.
I can't leave.
The president's here. I'm locked in the house.
That was so funny.
So the joke that we had for the rest of the time that we lived in Arlington is the Obamas came over. And they were we were hanging out with the Obamas in the backyard. It's not true at all, not even remotely. But yeah, Obama did.
He did like three. He went. He
came to the neighborhood a couple times. Yeah, it was a couple times, and there was one time I got up to go to church, and they had the streets. So there were 3 entrances to our subdivision, and all 3 of those entrances were blocked by police, and I couldn't get out to go to church. And I was like, oh God, it's Sunday. Please, President, stay at home. Like, don't come here. But it was a marathon. The guy let me go. They were finishing a marathon.
I saw a "How did we meet?" question.
Yeah. Should we? Well, you want to tell that story? You want me to? You want to tell together?
You can tell. It's just. I mean, it's pretty.
I saw him from across the room. That's it.
We just started working.
We started working together
down in Southwest Virginia.
Yep. There was a company
that stalked me.
That is not true. There was. Okay, fine. Now I got to tell the whole story. There was a company that was setting up a shop in Southwest Virginia. We got to put that pause between West and Virginia, because otherwise you think we're saying South West Virginia when it's Southwest Virginia. There's a difference. So, my mom, my dad, my stepdad lived down there. I moved down there in 2005, and I applied for a job with this company, got hired, and about 6 months later, Jason applied for a job there, got hired, took the job, and we started talking. We met at work, and we started hanging out outside of work. And that's really it. Like, that's all we really need to go into. We don't need to go any further than that.
Yeah, we can skip your stalking.
Okay, I wasn't stalking though. What had happened was.
I'm just playing.
But what had happened was, a friend of mine was like, "Hey, did you see the guy that came in for the interview?" And I did not. But now that she told me that a guy came in for an interview, of course I wanted to look. So I looked. And that somehow translated in her world to, I thought he was hot from the day I saw him come in for an interview and I had my sights set on him, and that was not it. I did think he was attractive, but I was at the point that I did not think I was going to meet my husband at work. I was not looking for a husband at work. I was just there, and if I met friends, that would be great. I kind of figured because they were hiring people in waves of like 12 or 20 people at a time to staff this facility up. I thought for sure I was not going to meet my husband at work. It was going to be out at church or in the community or something like that. And I was pretty sure everybody that was starting, that they were hiring, already had a girlfriend or already had a wife. So I wasn't even thinking about that. I saw him when she pointed him out. I thought he was attractive when she pointed him out. But what I also thought is that he had a wife or a girlfriend. So I wasn't even thinking about anything else. But there was a day where that changed. Do you know when that day was?
No.
It was the day you were standing at my desk and you were talking about how you go up on the weekends to see your kids. And I asked you where your kids lived, and you said they live with their mom in Harrisonburg, which of course my mind probably went to Harrisburg, but you said they live with their mom in Harrisonburg, and I said, well, why is she moving down here with your kids? And you're like, oh, no, we're divorced. Literally, whoop, light switch that moment. I was like, oh. And then maybe, yeah, I had a bit of a crush. No matter, Tiffany said, no matter how you stalked him, you make a great couple, and I love you guys. Marie John says, I married my best friend's brother. Nothing like handpicking your sister-in-law. Lori says, my dad was British, Army, World War II, and I was United States Air Force. That's the lady from Vegas, by the way. Pam says, I worked at the Indiana State Fair when Bill Clinton made an appearance, and you probably couldn't leave until he was long gone, huh? Wanda said, my dad was Marine in World War II, was on Okinawa and occupational duty in Japan. I think I got all that right. I'm not sure. Becca, my daughter was in the high school band when Clinton came to Arizona State. Drug-sniffing dogs sniffed all the instruments. Yes, I bet they did. Nancy Jean number 2 says, thank you all that has or is past or present serving in our services. Thank you. I agree with that. Donna Mason says, my dad was in the Air Force, husband Air Force, 2 brothers Air Force, 1 brother Army, 1 Coast Guard, and 1 Navy. So if you have a family full of Air Force and you have 1 Army, 1 Coast Guard, and 1 Navy, tomorrow during the Army-Navy football game, who do you vote for? Because you're 50-50 tied, right? Because Air Force isn't Army or Navy.
Yeah.
And Coast Guard isn't Army or Navy.
Yeah. Well, Coast Guard's probably closer to Navy.
I think I know who you would vote for. I know you don't follow the game, but if you had to go Army, Navy, who do you pick for tomorrow's game?
I'd probably do Navy.
I knew you would. His dad retired from the Navy, and his best friend is in the Navy. It's all the loyalty thing for them.
Hey, I was in the National Guard. I just did Army because that was what was there. Like, it wasn't like you had a choice. I was in high school. Like, I hadn't even finished high school when I started National Guard.
Martha's Creative Life says, my hubby was 21 years Navy. VR says, my father was a Vietnam vet in Army and my brother was a Marine. Janine Pfeiffer says, my hubby was a manager and I was a counter clerk when we met, 34 years married now. Gigi Quilt says, Wanda, my dad was in the Navy in Okinawa WW2. Terry's 3 sons are Navy, Army, and Coast Guard. Wow, she's got all of the bases cut.
You know what? That surprised me most of all. It took me forever. It took me until I was in my 30s to realize, though, that that people didn't automatically go into the military. Like, I mean, like, because my dad, my uncle, like, they all went into the military service. So growing up, I assumed that's what everybody did.
Oh,
everybody went. Not that you stayed, and not that everybody in your family went, but somebody in your family would go and serve in the military. I just thought that's what you did, right? And that's what my plan was too. Like, and it wasn't until like like I said, it was in my 30s that I realized there's whole families that never, nobody in their families in the military. I'm like, how, like, it took a long time for that to work into my head. Like, how is that possible? Like, I did not understand that.
Yeah.
But it's just weird. It's just, I don't, so like just going from your chat, like that's exceptional that there's so many people, considering that if you add up everybody that served and compare them to the, the people in all of the United States, it's only like 1% of anybody, total populations over the last 30 years that actually served in the military.
That's
It's
so
not
interesting
large.
because that dynamic has shifted for me. So in my world, my grandfather, my dad's dad, was in the military, and I think my mom's dad might have been too. Yeah, because he was in Korea. He went to Korea. And I feel like I heard a story that he got a Purple Heart. There was there was some there's some hill, or there was some battle that they made a movie about. I can't remember what it was. Like Bunker Hill. Do you know what I'm talking about? Hunker Hill, Bunker
Bunker
Hill.
Hill, yeah.
Is that a
Yeah,
thing from
Bunker Hill. That's
Korea?
one. That was one. I mean, there's several. So, but
Well, there
yeah,
was some battle that they made a movie about that apparently my grandfather on my mom's side of the family was involved in.
Mhm.
I don't know anything more than that, and I've heard stories that he got a Purple Heart, but I don't know for what, and I can't confirm because I'm sketchy on all those details. So I know he was in the military. I know my dad's dad was in the military because I've seen the photos and I saw the letter. I saw the letters that he wrote to my grandmother. They were not G-rated. I was like, oh, my grandpa wrote my grandma love letters, and I read the first one. I was like, this is not a love letter. She kept them all too. I was like, um. So yeah, I know he was in the military, but my dad was not. My dad wanted to serve in Vietnam, but he had a bad knee, and I guess they wouldn't take him. So and he never got drafted. My brother wasn't in the military. None of my male cousins, or female cousins for that matter, served in the military. Um, and my uncle he was in the Navy, but he was done with the Navy before I could even I don't have any memories of him in the military at all. I just remember him as Uncle Phil. So I grew up around distant people having military background, but I never experienced somebody in my family being active in the military. I had friends that joined ROTC in junior high and high school, and I had some friends that went to the military. And for a hot second, when I was in much better shape, I thought about enlisting, and I even called a recruiter and scheduled a time for the recruiter to come to my home and talk to me. And I was going big. I was like Marines. So they were going to come and talk to me. And all I could think about is that scene, because I graduated in 95, I could only think about that scene from Forrest Gump with the drill sergeant like this far from your face yelling at you, Forrest Gump! Like, I couldn't. And I was like, no, I don't want to be yelled at. I don't know. I don't want somebody barking orders at me. Nope, I can't handle somebody talking at me like that. I don't want to be yelled at. I want to be told what to do. So I canceled that appointment. I was like, I'm not going. I'm not going.
And you did Air Force.
My dad wanted me to do Air Force. He wanted me to do Air Force. I did not. I did not do Air Force. I wanted to fly a plane, but I found out that you had to have perfect vision. Yeah. So I had to wear very, very light prescription when I was younger. So I knew I wouldn't be able to do it that way. And I don't know. I don't know. I kind of thought that would be cool, but now I see all the things that those fighter pilots and stuff go through, and I'm like, oof, I don't know that I would have been able to do it, to be honest with you. You got to be able to tolerate the G's and all that other stuff. That's very physically demanding. Well, no, but it's physically, it is more, it is not just about flying the plane. It is a physically demanding job. So. Zeta Girl says, my brother was an officer in the Navy. I used to ask what he did. His standard response was, if I told you, I would have to kill you. That's a good one. I'm going to borrow that. Mom says, your dad was trying. Oh, here's Mom with the real story. And Mom can tell us a story about Grandpa, too, because that's her dad. My dad was trying to join the Army, but it was after Vietnam. The reason he didn't go in was due to his knee. He heard it just before he was supposed to enter. Thank you, Mom. But what's the story about your dad? Katie says my dad served 18 years in the Navy. The Nervy. The Nervy. My first husband served in the Army, and my daughter served in the Navy. Okay. Okay. Wow, we have covered all the things. We covered you think you're hilarious.
No, I know I'm hilarious. At least to me.
Yeah. Well, it's 10 o'clock, so I think I'm going to end it here. Can you believe it's been 2 hours?
Yes. Yes, I can.
He's a nut. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. It was a blast. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Even though all they saw for our entire conversation is just the side of my face because you did not want to be on camera, I will not guilt you into being on camera next time.
It won't work anyway.
Oh, it'll work. Oh, I got my ways. If nothing else, I'll at least put you here so that I can look at you and be like, yeah. Instead of like, oh yeah, that's great, Jay. It's kind of rude to turn your back to people when you're talking to them. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. We had a blast. Go sew something. Make something beautiful. Make a block. Turn the block into a mouse pad, a placemat, a feature element on a pillowcase or a tote bag.
Or God forbid a quilt.
Or God forbid a quilt.
The quilting channel. All I saw you do was cut stuff and sew stuff. I didn't see quilting. I don't understand it. I still don't understand it. It's a quilting channel, and all I saw was cutting and sewing. That was it. That was it.
I explained to him, be careful what you wish for. There are two things here. Thing number one, in my desire to bring my husband into my hobby and help him understand why I was so excited that my points perfectly matched, I showed him what it looks like when your points are on point and when they are not. And so now when I show him a finished project, what he does is looks at it and he remembers that piece of advice and he points out every time where my seams or my points don't match. Every time. He seeks it out. He seeks it out. And if he sees one that's really bad, he will remind me. In fact, I had a mini quilt, a wall quilt that was, he's looking around the room to make sure it's not hung up. I saw him. I had a wall quilt that I made years ago. One of the first things that I did. And there's
horrible. I could see it across the room that the points didn't match up.
It was like half an inch off on one of the points, but I was so proud of that thing. And he was too for a while, but the second I showed him what to look for mistake-wise, and I pointed out, he couldn't unsee it. So every time he saw the quilt, that's all he saw was the mismatched point.
Points and the fabric going the same way, and I forget.
Oh, look at him. Look at him.
What the other ones were, but that was the two main ones I remember was the points and the fabric going the same way.
And the reason why the fabric going the same way is because of the quilt that I have hanging here. It's the one that I collabed with Tucker on. I painstakingly went through every single one of those blocks to make sure that all of my directional fabric was going in the same way. And that took a lot of energy and a lot of time. And I pointed it out to him. So now he looks for that too. But so that's the one thing, like he looks at the points, and then the other one is I told him, he was like, okay, so I explained to him that the world of making a quilt compromises of piecing and then quilting. And as soon as I explained to him that piecing is taking the fabric and cutting it into the pieces and the shapes that it needs to be and sewing it back together, it's like cut and paste for adults, right? Like that's essentially what you're doing. Cut and paste for adults with fabric, and then you quilt it, and then it's finished. And he's like, you have a quilting channel. All I ever see you do is piece. He's like, you got all those tops to quilt. You don't do any of the quilting. I was like, stop, leave me alone. So, whatever. Piecing is part of the quilting. That's all I got to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm getting the look. Anyway, it's after 10. We're going to go
I gotta go let the dog out.
Ooh, who let the dogs out? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Y'all, doggy daycares have webcams, and I'm just going to end on this note. I sat for about 2 or 3 minutes today looking at the webcam, watching my dog. You want to know what he does? He follows the human in circles. They just walk laps around the same room all day, and he loves it. I picked him up, and he was dead tired. He was snoring in the car on the way home. I was like, that's $45 well spent. He got his exercise in. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. I really am ending the live stream here. Don't forget to come on back next Friday night. If everything works out the way it's supposed to, I got to make sure that she's confirmed, but we will hopefully have a lovely lady from Love So Modern here in the studio with us to talk about some of the lovely patterns that she has written and maybe even do a little bit of a trunk show for us. Thank y'all. Have a great week, and I'll see you next Friday night.